Donald Trump burst into the room with that cocky grin, convinced he was finally going to bury Barack Obama once and for all. Until Obama silently slid one grainy photograph across the table and blew his entire world apart, exposing young Ivanka on Epstein's island and the sickening secret that proved Barron was never the golden heir Trump claimed he was. It wasn't a public debate or a fancy press conference. This was a closed-door, off-the-record meeting arranged in secret between two former presidents, Donald Trump and Barack Obama. Donald Trump strode into the private meeting room like he owned the place. Shoulders back, chin up, that familiar winner's grin plastered across his face. Obama was already seated at the long table, hands resting calmly in front of him. He didn't stand up. He didn't smile. He just watched Trump enter with that steady, unruffled expression that always seemed to get under Trump's skin. Without saying a word, Obama slid a plain white envelope across the polished wood toward the empty chair opposite him. The move was so simple and quiet that it should have meant nothing, but something about it made Trump pause mid-step for the first time. Trump's grin faltered for half a second. He recovered quickly, forcing the smile back as he dropped into the chair. "Let's get this over with," he started, leaning forward, ready to launch into the attack he had prepared. His mouth opened, the first sharp words already forming on his tongue. Before he could get them out, Obama spoke. His voice was low, even almost casual. "You might want to look inside that envelope before you start celebrating." The words hung in the air. Trump's hand froze halfway to the table. The room suddenly felt heavier. The handful of advisors and staff standing along the walls shifted uncomfortably. No one spoke. Trump stared at the plain white envelope sitting there between them. It looked harmless enough, just a regular letter-sized packet with nothing written on it. But the way Obama had slid it across the table, the calm way he said those few words, made Trump's stomach tighten. Trump ripped open the envelope with a quick, confident flick of his wrist. He pulled out the single photograph and held it up close. At first it looked like an old grainy beach shot from years ago. Then his eyes locked on the details. There was Ivanka as a teenager, standing right on the sand with the waves behind her. In the distance, barely but clearly visible, was a figure that looked exactly like him. And farther back, the unmistakable shape of that island everyone knew was tied to Epstein. His stomach dropped. For a split second, the room went dead silent. Trump forced out a loud, mocking laugh. "Fake news!" he barked, slamming the photo down on the table. His voice boomed through the room as he leaned forward, pointing straight at Obama. "This is pathetic, Barack. You're still so jealous of my family, of everything I've built. You and your team cooked this up because you can't stand that I won and you lost. This is desperate, even for you." He kept going, voice rising, throwing out every line he usually used to shut people down. The aides behind him nodded nervously, trying to look supportive. Trump felt the old rush of control coming back. He was sure he could bulldoze right over this. Obama didn't flinch. He didn't raise his voice or argue back. Instead, he calmly slid 2 more sheets of paper across the table. "Take a look at the metadata and timestamp," he said evenly. The photo was taken in the 1990s. Location data puts it right near Epstein's yacht. The angles, the lighting, everything checks out. This isn't something we made up yesterday. Trump's face hardened. He snatched the papers and scanned them quickly, but the numbers and technical details only made his chest tighter. He slammed his fist on the table for the first time, the loud crack echoing off the walls. "This is bullshit!" His voice cracked just a little at the end, a tiny tremble he hoped no one noticed. But the room was so quiet that everyone heard it. Obama let the silence sit for a beat, then looked Trump dead in the eyes. His tone stayed calm, almost quiet, but the words hit like a punch. "If you brought your own daughter there as a teenager, what else did you hide? You keep parading Barron around as your heir, your legacy, your big story. But whose story are we really hearing?" The question landed hard. Trump's mouth opened. The air in the room felt thick and heavy. His advisors shifted on their feet, eyes wide. Trump's face turned red as he spun toward the door and barked at his team. "Get my guys in here right now. We're shutting this deepfake garbage down once and for all." Two of his senior advisors rushed into the room, looking ready to back him up and tear the photo apart. Trump pointed at the picture on the table, his voice loud again. "Tell them it's fake. Tell them it's all Photoshop or AI or whatever they're using these days." Obama leaned back slightly in his chair and gave a small, calm smile. He didn't look angry or rushed. He simply nodded toward the side door and said quietly, "Actually, I think it's time you met someone who was there." The door opened. A middle-aged man in a plain dark suit walked in. He looked nervous, but steady, like someone who had finally decided to talk after years of staying quiet. Obama introduced him simply. "This is Marcus Reed. He worked security on the island for several years. My team has kept him safe since he agreed to come forward." Marcus sat down without being asked. He looked straight at Trump and started speaking in a clear, even voice. "I remember that day in the 1990s like it was yesterday. I saw you and your daughter, Ivanka, on the island together. She was a teenager, maybe 14 or 15. You were both near the main beach area around 3 in the afternoon. She was wearing a light blue swimsuit cover-up and white sandals. You had on a white polo shirt and khaki shorts. I saw you talking to Mr. Epstein by the dock later that same evening." Trump cut in fast, his hand slicing through the air. "This guy's lying. He's being paid off. This is a setup." Marcus didn't raise his voice. He just reached into his jacket, pulled out a folded document, and slid it across the table. "This is my sworn affidavit. It's dated, signed, and notarized. Everything I just said is in there with exact times and details. I kept records back then because I knew something didn't feel right." Trump's forehead started to glisten with sweat. He wiped it away quickly with the back of his hand, but the room was watching every move. His advisors looked uncomfortable now, whispering to each other. The loud confidence from a minute ago was starting to crack. Obama stayed completely still for a moment, then reached into the envelope again and pulled out a second photograph. This one was clearer. It showed Ivanka standing much closer to Epstein's yacht, the big white hull visible right behind her. She looked young, almost lost against the massive boat. Trump's eyes widened. He pushed back in his chair so hard it nearly tipped over. He caught himself at the last second, gripping the edge of the table. His voice came out strained and rough, not the strong boom he wanted. That doesn't prove anything," he said, but the words sounded weak even to him. The sweat was rolling down his neck now. Then Obama reached for a small device on the table and pressed play. A short audio clip crackled through the speakers, clear enough for everyone to hear. It was Jeffrey Epstein's voice talking to one of his assistants. "Yeah, Ivanka and her dad Donald were here on the island that weekend. Keep it quiet, but the girl was around. Donald's got big plans for the family." The recording stopped. The room went completely still. Trump shot up from his chair so fast it scraped loudly against the floor. He jabbed his finger straight at Obama, his face twisted with rage. "This is treason," he shouted, voice booming off the walls. "You're playing dirty tapes now? You're trying to destroy me with fake bullshit. This is illegal. I'll have you investigated for this." His advisors looked stunned. One tried to step forward to calm him down, but Trump waved him off angrily. Sweat was pouring down his temples now. He kept yelling, pacing a few steps, trying to fill the room with noise so no one could think straight. Obama waited until Trump ran out of breath, then slid another set of documents across the table. "These are the flight logs from Epstein's yacht," he said calmly. "Ivanka's name is right here, dated the exact same weekend. The timing lines up perfectly with when you first publicly announced Barron as your son and heir." Trump snatched the papers, scanning them wildly. His hands were shaking. "Barron is my son," he snapped back, trying to regain control. "We have DNA tests, real ones. This is all lies to smear my family." Obama didn't blink. He placed 2 more sheets in front of Trump. Hospital records and a detailed timeline. These show the dates don't line up. The medical records from the birth announcement period and the travel logs tell a different story. The gaps are hard to explain away. Trump stared at the papers, his mouth opening and closing. The room felt like it was closing in on him. His usual bluster wasn't working. The facts kept piling up, and every time he tried to push back, Obama had something new and solid. Then Obama leaned forward slightly, his voice low, but cutting, straight through the tension. "Ivanka wasn't just your daughter, Donald. She was the one keeping the biggest secret about Barron for you." Trump froze. For a full 10 seconds, he said nothing. His eyes went wide with raw panic darting between Obama and the documents. The loud, confident man who had stormed into the room was gone. In his place was someone who looked completely cornered, breathing hard, sweat soaking his collar, unable to fire back with a single word. Then Trump slammed his fist on the table again, harder this time, trying to claw back control. "I'm suing every single one of you," he roared, his voice cracking with fury. "You, Obama, your fake witness, the whole damn team. This is defamation, extortion, and I'll drag you all through court until you're broke and ruined. You think you can pull this shit on me? I'll destroy you." His face was bright red, veins bulging in his neck. The advisors behind him looked pale, unsure whether to back him up or stay quiet. Trump kept shouting threats, pacing like a cornered animal, desperate to make the room fear him again. Obama stayed seated, completely unfazed. He reached into the envelope one last time and pulled out a third photograph, one that had never been shown before. He slid it across the table slowly. The image was sharp. A young Ivanka holding the hand of a small boy who looked just like Barron. They were standing on the same beach with Epstein's Island clearly visible in the background. The date stamp matched everything else. Trump's threats died in his throat. He stared at the photo, his mouth hanging open. Marcus Reed, the witness, stood up slowly. He looked Trump straight in the eyes and pointed at him. "I heard you say it myself that day. You told Epstein, 'She'll help cover everything up. She always does.'" "Those were your exact words." The room went dead silent. Trump's eyes filled with red, tears of rage and panic mixing together. His shoulders started to shake. For the first time, his voice broke completely, coming out thin and cracked. I was just trying to protect my family," he muttered, the words slipping out before he could stop them. "That's all it was. Just protecting what's mine." He looked broken, eyes glassy, breathing ragged. The powerful man who had walked in with all the swagger was gone. In that moment, everyone in the room saw Donald Trump near the edge of collapse. Obama finally stood up. His voice remained calm and steady, but every word cut like a knife. "Now it's your choice, Donald. You can admit the truth right here, or let the whole world see every piece of evidence we have." The silence after those words was crushing. Trump stood there sweating, eyes wide with fear, unable to shout, unable to fight back. Trump slowly sank back into his chair. For the first time since he walked into the room, he didn't shout. He didn't threaten. He just sat there, shoulders slumped, shaking his head slowly from side to side, like he couldn't believe what was happening. The loud, angry energy was gone. All that was left was a tired, defeated man staring at the table. Obama looked at him for a long moment, then spoke in that same steady voice. "Here's your final choice, Donald. You can step up and publicly admit the truth yourself. Or I will let all this evidence speak for you. The photos, the logs, the recording, the witness, everything goes public." Trump stared at the document spread across the table. His hands trembled slightly. After several seconds, he leaned forward and whispered, his voice hoarse and barely loud enough for the room to hear, "I never meant for any of this to come out. I did what I thought I had to do for the family. It wasn't a full confession, But it was enough. The words hung in the air, heavy and damning. Obama knew right then that Trump had finally broken. Marcus Reed quietly gathered the photographs, the flight logs, the affidavit, and the audio device. He placed them back into a sealed folder and handed it to one of Obama's aides. The evidence was locked away for now. Obama stood tall and spoke one last time, calm and clear. The truth doesn't need to scream. It just needs to be seen. The room stayed completely silent. No one moved. Trump pushed himself up from the chair with heavy effort. His shoulders were rounded, his usual swagger completely gone. He walked toward the door without saying another word, his steps slow and heavy. The man who had entered the room with a big smile and total confidence now looked small, broken, and exposed. His legacy, the one he had fought so hard to protect, felt like it was cracking apart right in front of everyone. Obama remained seated, watching him leave. His expression never changed. He looked like he had known exactly how this would end from the very first moment. The door clicked shut behind Trump, and the heavy silence settled over the room like a final judgment. In that quiet, it was clear that nothing would ever be the same again. As the door finally clicked shut behind Donald Trump, and heavy, almost suffocating silence filled the room. The man who had walked in just minutes earlier with that signature swagger, broad shoulders, and a grin full of absolute confidence was now gone, leaving behind only the image of a broken figure with slumped shoulders and defeated eyes. In one single intense confrontation, the carefully built walls around his legacy had begun to crack wide open, and there was no going back. This wasn't your typical political debate or shouting match you see on television. This was something much rawer. A quiet, calculated takedown where evidence, patience, and truth proved far more powerful than loud threats and bluster. It showed how quickly the mighty can fall when the facts line up against them. One photograph, one witness, one calm voice. And suddenly the entire narrative Trump had fought so hard to control started slipping through his fingers. If this story kept you on the edge of your seat, if your heart raced during those explosive moments when Trump's voice cracked and his confidence shattered, then you're exactly the kind of viewer we make these videos for. We don't just tell stories. We bring you the hidden confrontations, the shocking revelations, and the intense what-if scenarios that mainstream media would never dare to touch. If you want more high-stakes drama like this, more secret meetings, more powerful takedowns, more moments where the truth explodes in someone's face, then do me a favor right now. Hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and become part of this community. We drop powerful, thought-provoking stories every single week, and trust me, the next one is going to be even bigger. Right now, drop a big like if this confrontation shook you as much as it did us. Tell me in the comments, what do you think Trump should have done differently? Would you have admitted everything or tried to fight until the end? Which moment hit you the hardest? The first photograph, the witness, or that final silence when he walked out? Your comments help us know what kind of stories you want to see more of, so don't be shy. Let us know below. Thank you for watching until the very end. Stories like this only get better when real people like you watch, like, comment, and share. Subscribe so you never miss the next explosive chapter. We'll see you in the next video, where the truth always finds its way out, no matter how loud the denial gets.